Life Audio.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations.
We want families to come here and gain insightful strategies that empower them to successfully teach diverse learners at home.
Hosted by founder and CEO of SPED Homeschool, Peggy Ployer.
Our goal is that these powerful weekly conversations will boost your confidence to cultivate the best at-home learning environment for your student.
For more homeschool resources, go to spedhomeschool.com. You're listening to Empowering Homeschool Conversations with Peggy Ployer. We'll start the conversation with Peggy and her guests next.
The best-selling illustrated Bible for kids and teens, the Action Bible, is now better than ever. The Action Bible Faith in Action Edition is an interactive Bible specifically created for kids and teens ages 7 to 15. The Faith in Action Edition is designed to engage young readers in God's Word through hundreds of vividly illustrated Bible stories in chronological order with activities and games. Readers will grow in God's Word by using QR codes, providing free access to over 2,000 devotionals, hundreds of prayers, character stories, teaching videos, maps, timelines, and much more. Additionally, the Action Bible Faith in Action Edition allows readers to explore the major themes of the Bible like courage, faith, hope, love, service, trust, and wisdom. Each theme provides practical advice on how to live out God's Word. The Action Bible Faith in Action Edition is the best interactive Bible you can purchase for your child or teen. Purchase your copy today at Sam's Club, Barnes & Noble, or Amazon.
Rejoice always. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in all circumstances. God invites us to cultivate thankful hearts by turning our eyes toward Him in good times and bad. To listen to more Abide Christian meditations, just go to lifeaudio.com or search your favorite podcast app for Abide Christian Meditation. You can also download the Abide app for more biblical meditations at abide.com.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool, a nonprofit that empowers families to home educate diverse learners. To learn more, visit spedhomeschool.com. Here's Peggy Ployer.
Today we're going to talk about ways to use assistive technology with various teaching methodologies. And my special guest is Katie Larew. Welcome, Katie, to the show.
Hi, Peggy. Thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful.
Absolutely. Assistive technology. I think that's just a scary thing for most people because it's, well, first of all, technology changes so much. And then a lot of times there's a learning curve. And so a lot of times we try everything else except assistive technology. And I know you have such a gentle way about talking about technology and such a passion about it that I think our viewers are going to find that they're going to enjoy this conversation and be empowered to maybe use some things that they've never considered before. So if you're kind of going, oh, this isn't for me, hold on a minute and stick with us for a while, because I definitely want you to feel like this isn't something you just should close a door on to help your student out with. If you're joining us live, just know that you can put your comments, your questions in the feed, and we would love to have you as part of our conversation. We do have a way for you to submit questions ahead of time too, which we've had a couple questions submitted through our email list. So if you subscribe to our newsletter, we'll send out an alert the night before our broadcast, and you can submit your questions and then come back later if you can't join us live. And then you can check out what our guest said about your question in the recorded version. So just lots of opportunities for you to be able to interact with our guests if there's lots of craziness going on in your home. And that's usually true. And it's summertime too. So you may be on vacation, or you may just be out at the beach or the pool. And that's a good thing. So we just want to be able to serve you well. And so definitely keep on interacting with us and get your questions answered, because we're here to empower you and your homeschool. So Katie, as we get started, I would love for our audience to get to know you a little better, just a little bit about your background and also just kind of what you do and why you're so passionate about it.
Sure. Well, thank you again so much for having me here today. It's
Absolutely.
so incredible to connect with you and to be able to connect with all of the different families across the country that are homeschooling. So thank you for taking the time to learn more about assistive technology. So a little bit about me. I am a wife and a mom to two. I have my son just turned 5 last week, and my little
congrats.
girl to on Sunday, which is just so crazy. And yes, so as you talked about the different activities, we're looking forward to the summertime and fun things to do. But yes, I'm from New Jersey, so you might hear, I hope, a little bit of my accent still. And I began my teaching career in New Jersey. I graduated in 2007 from graduate school, and I became a special education classroom teacher. And I worked in a variety of settings, from in-class support to co-teaching, as well as a resource room. And I had incredible directors, and they really encouraged me to try to get as many certifications that I could. So I really didn't know how that was going to play out as time would go on. But I went and received my work for my certification in Orton Gillingham. So I completed a 2-year practicum as well as 2-year certification program. And then I started to learn more about assistive technology. At the time, assistive technology was a classroom desktop computer with a specific software program installed on it. And technology started to evolve, and I started to develop more of a passion for assistive technology, and the paths started coming together, and I moved across the country. I'm now in San Diego, California, and I worked as an assistive technology specialist in a K through 12 school district, and worked with students from elementary through high school, and became an assistive technology professional, really to focus on that area and to be able to help support students and parents, teachers, service providers, and really share what kinds of tools are out there.
That's awesome, because yes, it's something that continuous education is required, and so anybody that's teaching, whether in school or at home, you kind of need somebody like Katie who is kind of in that world, because I think that's a question a lot of our parents are asking all the time. It's like, what apps are out there? What what programs? What and so it's just and when I look through the list, I'm like, well, that's not there anymore, and so it's hard to keep up with all those things, and just technology in general. It's one of those things that just keeps changing.
Yes.
So, many parents, I'm sure, have heard about assistive technology, but, if they're kind of sitting on the fence, what would be your best answer for why they should even consider thinking in that direction?
So assistive technology can range from low tech to high tech. So it really depends on the individual and their specific areas of need. My area of expertise focuses on providing access to curriculum. So one way I like to say assistive technology provides access to the curriculum, but it does not replace the curriculum. So it's still so important. A lot of the families that I work with, their students or their children are working in different programs and learning about different types of resources. And those don't stop. Like, you still continue with instruction and focusing on tools to be able to provide access to that curriculum.
Right.
So, it's really finding the tools, though, that work best for the child. And that's so important.
Exactly. And I think that's kind of sometimes a barrier, because a lot of parents and that's why we named this broadcast about using different methodologies with assistive tech, because a lot of parents say, well, I want to do Charlotte Mason. I want to do, unschooling, or I want to use all of these different types of schooling methodologies. And we think that the assistive tech is going to take over the schooling, where you're telling us, no, it's just going to be something to come alongside and to help that student to be successful in however you're teaching them. And so huge relief You can move on and say, yes, I can use whatever method that I really feel led to use. And this will just be this extra scaffolding assistance that my child needs to be successful in using that. After a word from our sponsor, we'll dive back into this conversation. The best-selling illustrated Bible for kids and teens, the Action Bible, is now better than ever. The Action Bible Faith in Action Edition is an interactive Bible specifically created for kids and teens ages 7 to 15. The Faith in Action Edition is designed to engage young readers in God's Word through hundreds of vividly illustrated Bible stories in chronological order with activities and games. Readers will grow in God's Word by using QR codes, providing free access to over 2,000 devotionals, hundreds of prayers, character stories, teaching videos, maps, timelines, and much more. Additionally, the Action Bible Faith in Action Edition allows readers to explore the major themes of the Bible like courage, faith, hope, love, service, trust, and wisdom. Each theme provides practical advice on how to live out God's Word. The Action Bible Faith in Action Edition is the best interactive Bible you can purchase for your child or teen. Purchase your copy today at Sam's Club, Barnes & Noble, or Amazon.
Looking for ways to stay positive? Brighten your day with the Free Story Behind podcast. Hear weekly short stories that showcase true joy, love, and hope. Listen now at lifeaudio.com or by searching for Story Behind wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool. Go to spedhomeschool.com to get resources and support for teaching your unique learner at home.
I also try to encourage families and also teachers to look at assistive technology as an ongoing conversation, that the different types of tools that you might identify to be helpful today might look a little different. And as you mentioned,
yes,
all the different apps that come out, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and it's no longer supported.
Right. Yeah.
So keeping that conversation going and always checking in with your child too, to kind of see what's working, what's not working, how are those tools helping you? Are you finding them to be helpful, or are they more frustrating for you? So really involving your child in that discussion it's very important, and it can be really helpful.
Yes, because the ultimate goal in any sort of assistive, whether it's technology or just things put in place that help your student that they would have utilized under ADA when they go get a job in college, is you want to know what works for them long term. And so you're kind of, as they're younger, it's kind of just figuring that out. And so it's okay to say, well, this worked for a while, and now it doesn't, because your ultimate goal is not that we're going to, we're going to be perfect at finding the right thing and it's always going to work. It's we use this for a while. Now we've learned something from that, and now we're going to, move on and find what works next, because the ultimate goal is we want something that will help this student, this child, who's becoming an adult, to be successful long term.
Right.
And I look at that more now, having adult children, and realize just how important that was. It's so easy to lose sight of when we have younger children, because we're just such in the thick of it, and we just want to get through the day. But you will make it through the day, I promise. Sometimes they're harder than others, but yeah, that's
it's definitely a journey.
Yes.
And thinking, and there's going to be challenges along the journey too. And, with the technology, and thinking about all the different things that can happen. And so even when you have everything in place and you have everything installed correctly, and the settings are set up, things still happen. And trying to think about proactively thinking about those kinds of things, and trying to support your child so that when those things do come up, they aren't as frustrated, or they don't abandon the technology altogether. And thinking about, okay, well, why did that not work? And how can we have a plan in place? And sometimes they're little fixes. Other times it's, more planning, and to be able to set it up, or additional training to understand how a tool works and how to use it. So
yeah,
definitely a journey.
Yes, absolutely. So what tips do you have for parents who are just kind of thinking of getting started using assistive technology?
So when working with families and teachers, I recommend following the SET framework, where you start with a student and we're thinking about their strengths and what are the things that are working well for them? What are their interests? Like, they might be using a specific type of tool, and that might be for personal use, but thinking about, is that working for you? Do you like using an iPad, or do you like using a Chromebook or the laptop? And thinking about their strengths and thinking about the environment that they're in. So are they able to access what they're learning? Are they able to read the text and thinking about the tasks that they're trying to complete? Are they able to complete a writing assignment, organize their thoughts, edit their written work, and then finally the tools? So then finally thinking about the different types of tools that are out there. So that can then support those specific areas of need. So the student, the environment, the tasks, and the tools.
Okay. So that's what that stands for: student, environment, tasks, tools.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's good. It's kind of, that allows you to step back, allow you to evaluate, because I think at least me, my first thing would be like, well, what's out there? and that just seems overwhelming now, because there is so much out there. But when you have that framework, that kind of filtering grid for you to look at what can they do without the assistance and what can't they do? And now we have somewhere to move forward with those things that we're looking for.
And when families reach out to me, sometimes they will have heard about a new device or a new app or an extension, and they would like to learn more about it, which is great. But sometimes it might be better to, like you said, kind of start back to thinking about what are the students' strengths and what are the specific tasks that you're looking to support versus here's a new device that just came out and I think it's going to be good. But I also really recommend trying things.
Right. So where would parents go when they, kind of get done with that evaluation to start looking at what's available out there?
So there are so many different types of resources and different types of apps and extensions, but it also, again, going back to what are the specific areas that you're looking to support? So is it the writing? Is it the reading? Is it the editing, the digital organization, the executive functions?
Right.
So one of the helpful resources that I always try to recommend to parents is the International Dyslexia Association. And within that, there are some really helpful fact sheets that you can go onto their website, and you can learn about assistive technology there. I'm also a certified RESNA assistive technology professional, so they can provide some additional resources through their website. And it's also, finding the tools and trying different things out. I try to start with built-in accessibility supports so that you can try those, see if they're helpful, and thinking about the different areas that are in need of support and seeing that might work. And if not, then it might be a specific app or program to support those specific areas.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes, parents will, even if they're using a certain methodology, they'll buy a different curriculum, like for math, because math tends to not be one of those things that is integrated into like some of the overarching curriculums, unless it's like a Becca or something like that. But a lot of those do have built-in assistive technology, the reading and the highlighting the words. What are some other things that have those built-in assistive technology things that we don't even often think of them as assistive technology? We're like, oh, that's a nice little perk. Maybe it takes the reading off of me as a parent. But what's out there right now that is integrated that parents should be thinking about using?
Well, one thing that depending on the device, like for example, if you were to think about your iPad or your iPhone, thinking about those text-to-speech options to be able to have the text read aloud to you. And when I hear about curriculum that has those built-in accessibility supports, I'm so excited and so happy, because that's, if you start there and taking a UDL, a Universal Design for Learning approach, it really helps to meet the needs of all students. Right. So it's not just a student that may struggle with in the area of reading, but it can also support the student maybe with the focusing and to be able to with the visual tracking. So the text-to-speech can be really helpful, as well as the speech-to-text to be able to dictate your thoughts. However, there are also a lot of things to think about when you are using those tools, specifically with the speech to text, because a lot of times it can be frustrating for students.
It is hard. It is really hard to use. Yes. But when you've mastered it, it is helpful for those students that have trouble with the scripting.
Another one that I love is live text, where you're able to take a picture of a piece of text, like if it's a worksheet, or if you're out and about and you're at a zoo or an amusement park and there's a sign and you'd like to read it, or at a museum, and you can take a picture of it, and then you can convert it and have the text to speech read back to you. That can be really helpful.
Yes.
And a word prediction.
Yes.
When the programs have the support of the word prediction, but then also the text to speech component, where students can hover over a word and have the word read back to them, so that they see a visual reference of the correct spelling of the word, but then they're hearing it. So they're not just picking a word that is visually similar to what they were looking for, but they're having that additional confirmation.
Right. So it's just reaffirming the correct spelling, the correct pronunciation, all of that within that task, basically. Oh, that's
and
cool.
Certain programs are more robust than others in terms of supports that they're providing. So trying the different ones out and trying to utilize different trials that are offered through the programs can be helpful too.
Yeah. And I found it really helpful. A lot of curriculum providers, you can call them up, ask them questions about what they provide. They're more than happy to not only answer your questions, but get on a call with you and show you how to use it. But sometimes we just forget to ask. And so ask those questions and be willing to just kind of investigate a bit for your student, especially during these summer months when you've got some time to kind of think about, what am I going to use next year? What do we need to change? And I guess that might be a good question to ask is, what can parents be doing during these summer months or steps that they can be taking to help their child with tools so that by the time school starts, they aren't like throwing all this new stuff at them.
So one of the first things I would recommend is going back to your child and kind of thinking about this past year and what were the things that worked and what were the things that didn't work, and thinking about what were the areas that they wished they had more support. Or as a parent, what areas are you wishing that you had more support? Many parents will share with me that they spend a lot of time with their children reading the text to them. And you want to make it accessible. So it's incredible hearing all of the things that parents are doing to just be supporting their child to be able to learn, and thinking about the writing task. And parents will have their child say their different ideas or say their responses, and then the parents will write it down for them. And what I also try to do is to support the families so that the parents feel supported, so that they see that these tools are helping their child build their confidence and their independence. So that as the time goes on, and, if the parent isn't available to be able to read that text, the student's able to do it independently.
Absolutely.
So, thinking about those areas and really taking some time to identify what those areas are. And then over the summertime, it can be fun too. And even when you're learning new tools throughout the school year, but thinking about your child's interests and what are the things that they're engaged in? What are the things that they enjoy learning about? And utilize that as a way to teach them about different types of resources that are out there. Like if you're learning about how to use text to speech and having a website read to you, rather than just doing a website that your child might not be interested in, thinking about the different topics that they want to learn about, or a sports team that they're following, or a specific interest that they have. So that can be helpful. And then obviously the summer reading books, thinking about the different resources that are available. The text-to-speech audiobooks are always wonderful. Having the audio paired with the text can also support comprehension. So thinking about that and the dual text highlighting as it's being read back to you. And then proactively thinking about the new school year and thinking about what types of textbooks you might be using, and if there's any types of downloads that could happen in advance, so that you have them installed and they're ready to go. But trying things out, and you don't have all the pressures of, having to do all of the academic tasks, but just utilize personal interests and hobbies and things that they want to learn about.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Trying them out on things that they don't see as school and saying, well, yeah, approaching it more from let's try a new something fun, some new technology, and not even wrap it into the school picture. Because kids, and a lot of parents will tell us, my child loves to be on the computer, except a computer is not really a good place for my child to do school because they get distracted. I've heard that before. Is how would you answer that question? How do we do the teaching, but yet not do the gaming?
Well, I will say, if you're using an iPad at all, the guided access feature can be really helpful.
Oh, okay.
Where you can basically restrict access within a specific app. So that way you're not closing the app and going into a different app. And then you can restrict specific areas of the screen so that you're not going out onto the internet, or, you can customize it based on what your child is specifically needing access to. So you can set a time limit. And the way it works is, once you set it up, there's a passcode, and then put the passcode in. But
pick a complex one.
Yes. Don't forget it, because if you forget it, then you have to let the device power off, and then but little workaround. So in terms of the devices, though, I know some families are concerned about using the same device for schoolwork and then personal,
right? Playing
games or different types of apps that they might be using. So going back to your child, your child's best, and what will work for them. Sometimes parents will have the guided access, but then other times they might utilize a different type of device. Like it might be the Chromebook or the home computer or the family computer that they're using for schoolwork. While other times the child might be able to use the same device. And again, thinking about those supports and the different platforms that they're using the supports on can look different depending on what they're using.
Right. Yeah. And I think as they get older too, I've found with, my daughter wanted to get one that helped her with brain mapping, and just idea generation. And, I just said, well, why don't you just go look and see what's comfortable? Download a couple, try them out. And, it took her a couple weeks to figure out just really what would work. Cause some of them, they looked cute, but, you start using them and then it's like, no, it's just not as robust as what you needed for the certain project. And, but yeah, I think even as they're younger, you kind of want that little element of, I would enjoy using this too, instead of just, well, it's functional. But yeah, that's some great tips for parents who are kind of going, I don't want it to be a gaming thing. And maybe, dividing that line, whether it's through the actual technology, hardware itself, or if it's just time periods when they use it and control and access during that time.
Right. There's so many things. I mean, in terms of, once you identify what those tools are, but then thinking about the settings and thinking about, how are they going to be accessing it, and how are you going to be implementing it at home, and what does it look like? Where will they be utilizing the tools? Will it be at the kitchen table? Will it be at a desk? And do they have a charging station? And so many things.
Right. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about the charging station. Because what if you forgot to plug it in the night before? And yes, it's not functional. And so, yes, having that ability to just plug it in right there. So for families that maybe have been using assistive tech, but they're going, it's not doing everything that we need it to do. What kind of suggestions do you have for them to kind of tweak and change things, or even for parents who are new starting out and going, okay, I know we'll be, diving into this, but as we, adjust in the future, how do we handle that? And as we're just kind of adjusting and getting better at understanding what specifically our child needs.
So definitely going back to your child and really thinking about, okay, what was that tool that you were using? Let's take speech to text, for example. A lot of times parents will say that they've tried speech to text, but it's been more frustrating than anything. And the child doesn't want to use it anymore. And it's not picking up what they're trying to say, and it's not accurate. So we'll take that to start. So if your child is sharing feedback about using speech to text, some things that you can think about are the environment that they're in. So thinking, is there background noise? Are you in the kitchen, or is there a TV? Are there other siblings that might be talking, or friends that might be, making some additional noise? And that can affect the accuracy. But also when you're thinking about learning how to use a specific tool like that, it can be helpful to have the child have like a rough draft so that they're comfortable with what they're using. And if they're using a piece of text, making sure that they can decode the piece of text, or they're familiar with it before they're just going to start using the speech to text tool. So if they're trying to decode the text and then also learn how to use the dictation tool, there's a lot of steps, and there are a lot of things to think about. And another tip is, if they're using the speech to text and let's say they had their rough draft, they could highlight the punctuation marks. When you're using speech to text, you can say, what time are you going to the store? ? I'm really excited to be here today! ! And that doesn't come naturally. So
no, it doesn't. Yeah. We just, yeah.
It takes time and it takes practice, and seeing if that works for your child, and trying that out, but then also utilizing headphones can be helpful. Headphones with a built-in microphone helps to increase the accuracy. So just using the one that's built into the device, it might not pick up as much as if they were using a microphone. Sometimes students will put the microphone directly in front of their mouth. Other times they'll just keep the earbuds in. So those are some things to think about, just specifically with speech to text. But going back to whatever the tool is and thinking, how did it work? How did it not work? And figuring out then, do we need to try a whole new program? Should we try a different type of tool? Is it the accessibility of it? Maybe if they're having to go through a series of steps to be able to access the tool, that might be too many steps. So Chrome extensions can be helpful because the toolbar is just right on top of the screen. Versus an iPad, maybe you're going into an app and then you're having to copy and paste it. And if you have to share it up and upload it to Google Docs, and so just thinking about
Yes. Yeah. The ease of the flow and all of that. And some of them are a little more intuitive than others. And how do you access that? But that's some good things to think about too, because we often we think about just the end but also how to get to that, that type of technology can be a huge hindrance. And I know even a lot of parents find that, when their kids start to struggle, you've put them somewhere and you want them to be independent, and then they just disappear because they become so frustrated and you're not watching. So, so they just take off and go play. But that's not what we want. We want them to really just get to the technology, to be an assistant and to really work on those independent learning skills right away instead of having to get them back there 3 times to really start using it.
And I think it's so important so that the child understands why they're using it. How can this be helpful for you? And why are we learning about it? Why are we trying this out? And what are the areas that, you're looking for additional support in, so that they can see the reason behind it. So hopefully then they want to use that tool. They see that they realize that it's a helpful support for them.
And as they get older, they have that language then to advocate for themselves as well. Because if it becomes a lifelong assistive need, then they can say, well, I've always needed this or some sort of assistance like this, and this is how it's helped me. But they have the history, the background, the words, and all of that kind of come together that make people just realize, oh yeah, this is a real thing, instead of you're just asking for the moon and not really understanding why you need this sort of assistance.
Absolutely. Becoming an advocate for themselves.
Absolutely. So we all get frustrated with technology at one point or another. Do you have any suggestions for families if they've kind of hit a wall with certain things and they just kind of don't know where to go from there? And either it's something, we can approach it from the side of it's the child frustrated with it, or that for the parents saying, I got this for this, but it's not doing it. So what would you suggest for those families?
Well, I know for myself, when I get frustrated with technology, I try to remind myself to take a breath.
Yes, that's always good.
And it's so frustrating sometimes, especially when you feel like you've done everything. You have it plugged in, you set up the specific settings, you installed it, you have everything ready to go. But then sometimes it's just this little tiny check mark in this little tiny section, and it's hidden, and it's,
yes,
it can be frustrating. And to recognize that, and that it's important to recognize that there's going to be the challenges and there's going to be frustration along the way, but to try to think about a proactive approach so that when those things do come up or they do happen, you have a toolkit to go to. And sometimes that toolkit could be something that the parent's able to do with the child. Sometimes the child's, for them to learn how to troubleshoot on their own, so that if they come across those frustrating moments, they have, okay, I'm going to close the app first, or, I'm going to install the extension again, or I'm going to try different things. So really trying to think about what are those things that are not working, and also
those quick reset types of go-tos.
Moment go-tos, but thinking about the big picture too. If it's causing more frustration and if it's really not working, then that might not be the right tool. And moving on to a different tool, or just thinking about different types of resources that might be able to provide the support. And again, going back to your child and really hearing them and hearing them give their feedback about, okay, this is why I don't like this. And this is not working for me because it does this. And I feel like the voice is sounds like a computer, so I don't want to listen to it. And
so
thinking
absolutely.
about those things, and, maybe it is finding a different program that has more human-like voices, or maybe it's changing the settings and making the text be read a little bit quicker or slower. Customizing the settings can sometimes be that frustrating piece, but it all depends on the child and what they're saying is frustrating. And for the parents, I hear you, and you're not alone. And there's so many things that can be frustrating with technology. And when it works, it's amazing. It can be amazing, I should say. But looking at it and just thinking about, okay, what should we do, and how can we try to change things if needed?
Right. Yes. And then you have those system updates.
Oh, yes.
And that tend to reset things, and you just, I can start the whole wheel over again. So I like your suggestion about having that checklist, or maybe just going every time you know that an update has happened, going through those settings and making sure everything is, where you had it before. So yeah, those can cause a lot of frustrations. We had a question from a guest who asked about, Matt G said, how are Apple's newest iOS announcements impacting existing AT solutions, and how will they ultimately improve access to software, hardware, and broader society for people who rely on AT? So I'm not too versed in that, but I hope you are. As far as, just that we have updates and they come at us and we don't even know. I wake up in the morning and my phone has been updated, and so how is it impacting assistive, and is it improving it in the long run?
So great question, Matt. Thank you so much for submitting that, because the built-in accessibility tools are so important to think about. And I love when I hear that there's different updates with built-in tools because, again, going back to that UDL approach, a universal design for learning, where you're helping to make the curriculum or making tasks accessible to all learners, to all students. So even though thinking back to my classroom years ago and thinking about that desktop computer with the specific software installed, now we have devices that are portable. And we're able to take the technology with us. And thinking if you're waiting for your brother or sister to finish their soccer game and you're in the car or you're running around with different errands, we can now listen to books being read to us or thinking about on-the-go type of technology supports. So to be honest, I am excited about different built-in tools that are coming out. But again, going back to your child, those built-in tools might work for your child. They might not. And you might need a specific program that's more robust with the supports to be able to support your child. For example, thinking about word prediction. Word prediction can be really helpful. However, the built-in word prediction might not be the level of support that your child needs. So you might need to look into a specific program, whether it be an app or an extension, and then thinking about the features that offers for word prediction. It can have the text-to-speech, so you can listen to the word being read back to you. You can be able to have the highlighting so that you can have the visual tracking. So thinking about those built-in accessibility tools and thinking about which ones could be helpful. Try them out, see if they are in fact addressing the specific areas of need. And if they're not, then thinking about, okay, maybe we need to look into a specific program.
Yeah. And from what I remember, a lot of the technology has at least you can try it before you purchase it, or they have a trial period, or you have so long to, say this isn't working, or we'd like our money back. But most companies aren't going to say blindly, you have to buy this. So I think that's just an encouragement to parents. And really what Katie was just talking about is, there's just so many things out there. And so we do have the free stuff. There are some paid that really aren't that expensive either, that go up over and above what the free stuff does. And especially I think for kids, have you found that to be true? The one speech prediction and those types of things that are made more for students or children really are more helpful for them in a school setting versus just in I'm writing my emails for work.
Right. Well, I think it also depends on how they're accessing those tools.
Okay.
Because thinking again about all the different tasks or steps that they need to go through to be able to access the tool. Is it built in? There are some extensions, for example, where they would have to open up a separate window and they could compose their writing there and then copy and paste it into a Google Doc, or they can use a built-in one where it's built into the Google Doc so they can dictate directly there. Or if they're on an iPad, if they're using the built-in tool, then thinking about all those tips we talked about earlier with using speech to text and thinking about, are you utilizing those different types of tools, or are there areas that are in need of additional support? So maybe you do try some headphones with a microphone, or maybe it's frustrating because they don't know what they're trying to say and it's not picking up what they're saying. Also articulation, and thinking about your child and what they might be struggling with, that could be very frustrating if it's not picking up what you're saying. So it depends. It really depends on the child and the different tools that they're using and the steps that they're taking and the platform that they're using. All the above. Yeah. For instance, if you as a parent are going, well, how does that look? So I got an extension on one of my grammar checker because I'm just horrible with grammar and spelling. That's not my strong suit. And I found I was making a lot of mistakes on our website. But now that when I change things on the website, it's integrated. So it just tells me if my grammar's bad there too, which is really nice because then I'm not copying and pasting my text from every place that I would, have the checker and not. And this way it's just on the platform that I need to change it on right there. Right. And for many students, sometimes having those built-in tools where it's almost like an overlay tool.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't need visually, you're still using the same type of website that you're using, or your email still looks the same, but these tools are kind of hovering over them and just available to you so that if you need them, they're there, but you're not having to go into a totally separate program and go through additional steps, which those additional steps, depending on your child, could be frustrating, or too many steps could also make you go off track or just, not stay.
Or those children that just want to rush through everything and just get it done. They're going to skip it and it's just not going to be used. Yes. Yeah. So there are tools like that out there. And so don't feel like, that's just too much for my child. There are ways to get them beyond that.
I think it's so interesting too, with the different updates and technology that comes out and thinking about, okay, what is this going to look like in education, and thinking about, how does it help to support students, and, really going back to the child and what works with them, and thinking about, just because a new tool or support's out there doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the right fit for your child. So keeping that ongoing conversation and thinking about the child specifically.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And so, as we're looking into the new school year, and the summertime that we have, and as parents, are purchasing curriculum, what specific things should they be looking at once they kind of settle on some assistive technology to get it set up properly, so that when they go into the new year, they're comfortable, their students comfortable? I know we talked about using it a little bit, but what are some other steps that families can take to just ensure that this is going to work from the beginning?
So a lot of times if something is digital to start with, it can be really helpful, because then you can utilize different types of programs and supports to access those tools, like the text-to-speech. If they have it built in, that's something too to think about when you're looking at the different types of curriculum. Do they have those tools, or is it going to be compatible to be able to work with those types of programs? A lot of times they are, and you're able to just basically access it through their web browser, and then they can log in, and then they can add the extension, and then it will work directly through there. But yes, thinking about those types of tools and what type of platform they would be using to access their curriculum. And if it's not digital, that's okay too. There are different ways that you can make them digital. So what those steps look like, again, it can vary depending on the type of device that they're using. You can take a picture of the piece of text and then have it read back to you, or you can scan text and then upload it, and then the child can utilize the text-to-speech. Or if they are filling out worksheets, like if they have a workbook and they might be struggling with the physical task of handwriting, or it's the spelling or organizing their thoughts, they can scan that worksheet, whether it be taking a picture with their phone or using their home printer, and then they can annotate directly on the worksheet. So,
I did not know that was available. Wow.
Yes. Annotate directly on the worksheet, or they can also use the speech to text to be able to dictate their responses onto the worksheet. Then you're not having to recreate everything from scratch.
Exactly. So, yes.
Certain tasks might lend themselves to something just like a journal, for example. If you have a specific template, you can utilize graphic organizers, have them uploaded and create folders within your Google Drive so that things are ready to go, so that there aren't more steps at the beginning of the school year. So it's really thinking about the way in which your child will be accessing that curriculum, and then thinking about what tools will you be using, and thinking about the steps that you can proactively take to get things organized for the new school year.
Yes. Yeah. Because, I know more workbooks are going to the digital age, but there are some tried and true ones that parents love. And it seems like, when we think, assistive technology, there's no way, but you just kind of debunked that. So there are ways and to get around that. But yeah, like you said, having all of that set up in place so that your student knows how to access that, or they know that when they get the worksheet, this is exactly the steps that they need to take so that they can do their lesson from the bat, instead of you going, okay, so now we're going to learn the process of it. And that means the lesson's not going to happen that day, pretty much.
And almost building that toolkit, visual toolkit for your child, so that they have a visual reference of, this is the app that I go to be able to complete, let's say it's a writing worksheet. Yeah. This is the feature that I'm going to use within the app. This is what the icon looks like. And you can customize that specific for your child.
Oh, okay.
When I'm working with students, I also like to have them kind of give their feedback, use their language. So what do you like? Let's put this into the steps that make sense for you. And some steps you might go into really great detail and really explain this is where you're going, or it might just be an icon, like a picture of an icon, and that might be enough for them to know I go here to here to here. And they know that, and they have that visual. Having resources to even like usernames and passwords, having that accessible so that they're not frustrated when they can't log in.
Exactly. Yes. So important. Yeah. There's just so many ways to get diverted in the wrong direction and have it crash without even getting into the technology, just in your child's brain that this is not accessible and just having them shut down, which you don't want to happen. You want it to be a useful tool, not something that keeps them from learning. And there's just so many resources out there for parents now to pick and choose from, even based on the methodology that they choose, that there's things that they can find that setting it up ahead of time will really help them be successful and their student too.
And they might not be using that tool all the time.
Yes, that's a good point.
It's not necessarily going to be for every single task, every single day, every single activity that they're doing. You might identify a specific type of task that you want to utilize the assistive technology tool with, and see if that's helpful, and see if that's really helping your child and how do they feel about it. But again, those steps that we talked about earlier, going through all those steps might be too frustrating for your child, and they might choose to do it a different way. And you might find it more effective for them to write directly on the worksheet, depending on the type of activity that they're working on. So again, going back to the child and what works best for them. Yeah.
Trying out some things and just not getting too set in your ways or setting up too much. I think that's another thing as we're planning in the summer. A lot of times we want to lay out the whole year. And, and this is how because it's through a couple experiments, it's been successful this summer. And so we're just going to set up everything that way. And I hate for you to get, kind of in that groove and go, oops, we have to change, just kind of shift a little bit. And then everything that you've done. So, doing it a couple weeks at a time, a month at a time, instead of the entire year out, it might be a good approach if you're trying something new, because your student may lose interest too, and just say, like Katie's, I think that's a great, suggestion or point, is that the child can get tired of it and just say, well, this was great. Maybe it was entertaining to them for a while, and now all of a sudden it's just getting in the way versus really being helpful. Yeah. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I have really appreciated everything that you shared. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with parents as we kind of wrap up our just discussion, a thing that you just want them to remember as they're kind of going into looking into assistive technology, and whether they've been there or not, and just your closing advice for them?
Just to reiterate what I was saying earlier, that assistive technology is an ongoing conversation, and to keep the conversation going, constantly revisiting it, really involving your child in those discussions, and looking at it as a tool. And it's not replacing what you're working on, not replacing those skills. It's just supporting your child so that they can help to build their confidence and their independence.
Absolutely. That's a great way to end it. It's going to be a journey, definitely. And you won't just find something and it's just going to be what you use I mean, I think very few people probably do that. They find something and they just, that's all they ever use, because technology is just changing and updating too much for us to do that. So, so how can our viewers connect with you?
So you can find me on social media, on Instagram and Facebook at Assistive Technology for Dyslexia. You can also visit my website, which is assistivetechnologyfordyslexia.com. And my email is assistivetechfordyslexia@gmail.com. And I love hearing from families. And if you found tools to be helpful, I also love hearing about that. If you
cool.
are looking to learn more about assistive technology, or you're not really sure what to do next, whether you have just started using assistive technology or you've been using it for many years, I try to work with families so that wherever they are in their journey, so that they feel supported, and to help them feel less overwhelmed and feel like they have a plan in place, and feeling like, okay, we've got this.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you for what you do. And I will put all those links that, that Katie just shared with us on the description for the YouTube description, as well as the podcast description. So you can just click on those. And then there were some other resources she shared with me as well. So you'll be able to just access those through a click of a button, instead of having to watch on the screen and write down the URL super quick or go back and listen. So we want to make sure that's most accessible to you, and saves you some time as well. So, so yeah, thank you so much, Katie. I know we connected a while ago, and I'm just impressed with your work and just how passionate you are to help families and students. And yeah, you have homework ahead of you all the time, because this just keeps changing. But we appreciate the work that you do, so that parents can just teach their kids and help them be successful.
Thank you again for having me here today. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and I hope that your listeners will find these tools to be helpful, and know that you're not alone, and resources are available, and take the time and just try to figure out what works best for your child.
Yes, that's great advice. Take the time. Don't try to rush into it. It's a process, and then when you discover what's right and not just what's okay, that's when you know that you found something that's going to work for, you've invested the time, and it's worth the investment, instead of just saying, well, let's just patch it quickly, because it just, that doesn't usually end too well. I know. So awesome. Well, yep. So thank you, viewers, for joining us today. This has been another conversation here on Empowering Homeschool Conversations. We're diving into this new topic about how do we tweak or change different methodologies based on the needs of our kids. And I know there was a couple questions submitted about reading today that we didn't get to, because Katie was really focusing on assistive technology. But guess what? Next week, we are talking about, and the specific title is Don't Throw Away the Books If Your Child Refuses to Read. So we're going to address those reading questions next week. And so I'll save those for Julie Nally. She is from Biblioplan. She's been on the show before, and she'll be joining us again next week to talk about that topic. So thank you all for being part of our community and joining us. Definitely check out our website at spedhomeschool.com, and consider being a donor to support this weekly broadcast and all the work that we do at Sped Homeschool. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we just appreciate your donation and support of our work. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you again here next week. And again, thank you, Katie. Appreciate your time in joining us. God bless everybody, and goodbye. I want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on this podcast. If you go to lifeaudio.com, you'll find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network. They've got shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
This has been Empowering Homeschool Conversations with Peggy Ployer.
Is life feeling chaotic? I get it. I'm Rachel Wojo, host of the Untangling Life podcast. Don't miss the passionate encouragement and faith-based resources you need to help you clear your head and calm your heart. As Shell says, it feels like Rachel always knows what I need to hear. She keeps it real and is so humble. Her podcast is just the cherry on top. Enjoy Untangling Life with Rachel Wojo on lifeaudio.com or your favorite podcast app now.